So I spent like the first year after the cancer diagnosis wanting to stay near my daughters and wanting to keep my life somewhat normal because I was afraid of taking strong decisions to really change my life in the way I wanted to. I needed time for that decision to evolve naturally on its own so that I wasn't forcing myself to take decisions before I was ready. One of those decisions, of course, being to quit my job and let go of my health insurance, which at that time before the Obama legislation, if you let go of your health insurance, you might not be able to get any, especially if you have cancer. That would mean I wasn't eligible for anything basically until I went through all my resources and became eligible for Medicaid. And for me, that journey was several years before that happened. And so I spent the first year after diagnosis with a foot in both worlds. I would spend part of my days at a local alternative medical clinic receiving treatments. Oftentimes those treatments made me feel sick. I was also doing self-treatments that I had studied and learned about just over the internet, and also by traveling once to the Dominican Republic to the Genesis 2 Church of Health and Healing, where I began to learn about what alternative medicine was in the third world, away from the United States, where the FDA didn't govern everything. And I also, of course, already had some experience with the shamans in the jungle and shamanic healing. And while I didn't personally have any knowledge of herbology, I understood that that was another avenue. So I sort of kept a foot in all worlds. I would go to work, I would go to the local clinic, I would sit in the IV chair and receive treatments there. I would go on trips where I would go looking for different kinds of healers and to gather different kinds of information and training about healing myself. And I would then also go, a friend of mine had a house out in Big Sur, a cabin, and he loaned that space to me for a period of time so that I could just go be alone and meditate by the ocean and engage my shamanic practice, do ceremony with myself, and try to figure out my life, as it looked then, So I had a lot of things going for that first year, and it became very clear to me, my health continued to get worse. So it became very clear to me that I couldn't try and keep my feet in all those worlds, that I had to really get focused, that if I wanted self-healing to work, that I was going to have to quit my job primarily, because it was my job that kept me from being able to administer all of the treatments that I wanted to do, because the treatments not only were time consuming and oftentimes had to be taken during the workday, they also made me feel bad. And so it wasn't going to work for me to try to continue to keep all those things going. So after a year, I made that hard decision to quit my job, cut off any hope of income and health insurance or even disability insurance. I was a county employee, and I got caught in a loophole where, because I was paying into the county system, but yet I hadn't vested. It's a 5-year vesting rule. But I was in the system for 4 years, which took me out of Social Security because I was paying the county and not Social Security. I ended up in this period where I could either wait another year to vest my county benefits and risk dying during that year, which I felt might happen, or I could choose to just jump free, jump into the abyss, say I don't need to be tied to this tether of safety with the insurance that wasn't paying my bills anyway because it didn't pay for alternative treatments, and this income. So I let it go. I jumped into the abyss. I sold my house, which I had emptied the house many months previously, and the children had already moved in with their father. So, I had sort of paved the way and cleared the space for that to happen. And that was what freed me to say, okay, I'm going to focus everything I have on me. I'm going to focus everything I have on, finding my path, both my joy and my treatment together. And I think probably most people think those two are mutually exclusive, but they're not. They're not at all. It does take a lot of personal work, I would say, a lot of confronting oneself and a lot of getting really, really honest with oneself about what is important, what serves your personal joy, what I found a way. The things that I loved in life involved traveling. It involved being in wild places, being out of the city, being in the woods, having a lot of time alone to meditate. The things that brought me joy, I knew were not material. I knew that they didn't require a lot of money. So when I cut loose, I was able to sell a car, pay off the doctor bills. I had my Volkswagen van left and some cash in my pocket, just a little over $10,000, not a lot. And at that point, I set out on my adventure.